people in the future. No people at all. There are no people in the future. Where did all my people go? There are no people in the future. Let me try my people call. Where are all my people? Where are all my people? I guess I'll fly away now.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It is Friday, July 16th. I was going to get a little ahead of myself there, 16th. Welcome to Raging Chicken's Out the Coop podcast. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Each week, I talk to that guy filled with so much middle-aged millennial angst that he had to take a 3-week hiatus to Utah. That's right, everybody. Sean Kitchen. And we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly in state and national politics. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel right now. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, like the stream, and hit the bell so you know every time we go live. And let me tell you, I'll tell you right off the bat, is that it's going to be a little bit more of a freewheeling show today. We're getting kind of back in the swing of things. And, frankly, we haven't had the opportunity to talk on the podcast for, God, it's what, been 5 weeks, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a bit. So, today we might get into some, I don't know, what's been going on in the news. Oh, I don't know, voting rights, and the filibuster. Or maybe how about the infrastructure and the filibuster? And how about the Trump stories that are emerging about the Secret Service and about compromise coming out of the Soviet Union, right? Well, who knows? While all that's going on, the West is on fire, part of the East is underwater, right? Including Bucks County. So our climate crisis is raging like it hasn't been before. There's that. Of course, right here in Pennsylvania, you've got dark money groups like No Left Turn, No Left Turn in Education and Freedom Works and the Heritage Foundation. After they astroturfed a rally, right, attacking critical race theory in Harrisburg. And of course, what I found out is that my own school district, good old Penridge, figured into that little rally. Of course it did, especially as candidates for the school board here are making it to the conservative talk show circuit. That's all fun. Oh, yeah.
We also have some great Mastriano stuff.
Oh, there's also some great Mastriano stuff as he continues to make a name for himself. Oh, yeah. And did I mention that they voted to consolidate the kind of 6 PASSHE schools into 2 on a unanimous vote from the Board of Governors, despite the overwhelming kind of comments to the contrary? Oh, I don't know what we'll talk about today. Oh, but, then maybe in today's last call, we'll talk about some more fun stuff. I got some cool news from Notch Brewing about a new collaborative that they're working on. I'm wearing today, I don't know if you can kind of see it, it's this anti-sexist, anti-racist, pro-equality beer club shirt that was produced through, I forget the name of the place right now. I was looking for it before the show, but it's on the back. It says hashtag NYC Brewing or NYC Brewed. And it's part of, in San Diego, there's a kind of, the original kind of came out of San Diego, and they're being used to raise money for Brianne Allen, who is the woman from Notch Brewing who kind of got this whole kind of latest ball rolling on the reckoning around sexism, misogyny, racism, bigotry in the craft brewing industry. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. There's also some stuff for Legal Defense Fund. We also had Billionaires in Space this week. And, I've been doing some cold brew. And I'm curious about what you're all saying, what you kind of think about, those of you who are out there might know about this or not, about this browser called DuckDuckGo. That I talked on the podcast a few weeks back, but I've been using it since then. I'm really thrilled about it, but I'm curious what other folks think. So these are the kind of things that we got going on today. I want to remind everybody to tune in to The Rick Smith Show on Free Speech TV this and every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can stream the show live at freespeech.org or tune in on Dish Network, DirecTV, or through the Free Speech TV app on Roku. And make sure to subscribe to the Rick Smith Show's daily podcast on iTunes, Podbeans, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you haven't already, I don't know where you've been, but you got to check out the Sisters of the Night Caucus podcast. You can find it on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. The PA women stirring the cauldron behind this podcast rock the house, and they know where the bodies are buried. Make sure you follow them on Twitter, too, at The Night Caucus. And, of course, got to give the shout-out to the good folks at the Game Inn, right? For all you gamers out there, the Game Inn with 2 N's. The Game Inn is a Quakertown-based black family-owned gaming store. They're friends of the show. They got everything from retro N64s, the latest consoles, video games for all platforms, platforms. Loads of collectibles, action figures, Funko Pops, and kids get discounts with every A on the report card. Check them out on their Facebook page. Follow them on Twitter at the Game In, again with 2 N's, at the Game In. You got a question, you're looking for a particular game or console, you can also drop them an email at thegamein, 2 N's, thegameinpa@gmail.com. And a special shout out, as always, goes to Jonathan Mann, who wrote our intro song, There Are No People in the Future. Check out all his great stuff on his YouTube page and follow him on Twitter at SongADayMan on Twitter. It's at SongADayMan with 2 N's on Twitter. And just a little bit of note on this. Usually I have the music playing underneath this intro. I kind of cut it a little bit short today because if you remember, the last time we were on, we had a little issue with, again, the music kind of coming in and interfering with the sound of the microphone. And so right before the show, Sean and I were talking a little bit, and there were some issues with kind of him hearing stuff on microphone. We weren't sure where that was coming from, where that originated for. So there, Sean will be right back. He's got a package. Also want to give a shout out. We had a new patron on Podbean. Right. So if you recall that most of it, if we're looking to kind of support the show, you can go to patreon.com/rcpress. But our original move towards a kind of membership-based or patron-based program was through Podbean, because we broadcasted live on Podbean. We were, that's where our podcast is primarily hosted, even though you can get it on Anchor, you can get it on Spotify, you can get it on Apple Podcast, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, you can get this podcast. And you can get the Wednesday show with Cyril Michaleko, and you can get Out to Coop Live, our Monday call-in show and interview show. But they have a patron program there too as well. And we slowly shifted away from that to the, look at that box he's got. We slowly shifted away from that to the for Patreon, but we just had another $5 member kind of come on through Podbean this past week. But it's an anonymous one, just the strings and numbers and letters. That is kind of what Podbean assigns. So whoever you are out there, I want to thank you for jumping on, for becoming a patron of this show at the $5 a month level. Because look, if we want a progressive future, we need progressive media. You can support Pull No Punches, homegrown progressive media today by becoming a patron of Raging Chicken for as little as $5 a month. Simply go to patreon.com/rcpress. Right. Ever since we got rid of Trump, right, the question is like, are we done? No, right? This is just the beginning. Because look, if we want a progressive future, we're going to start building it now, as people have been doing. We're here for the fight, but we need you. All right. Become a patron for the price of a good beer once a month. Help keep the media in the movement, the media. Become a patron for those $5 a month by going to patreon.com/rcpress. And look, if you're listening to this on Podbean, and Podbean is where you get your stuff, you can always hit that little green become a patron, or the patronage button at the top of the screen too as well, and you can help support us through Podbean as well. And if you're not ready to become a member, but you got kind of a little extra in your pocket right now, and you feel like you want to throw us some support, you can give us a one-time donation by going to paypal.me/rcpress. That's paypal.me/rcpress today. Well, Sean, I got to say, that was one heck of a package that you just had come.
Yes, it is. It's more camera gear.
More camera gear. There you go. Well, yeah, great stuff for the we can unpack. We can do an unpacking for today's last call.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Well, look, more important. Like it's great to see you again, man. Kind of welcome back, and I mean, I guess you've been back longer than I have.
I think the camera gear is more important, but it's great. It's great being back.
Like, oh, okay. Camera gear is more important. Sean's like, let's do the unpacking now.
No. I was gonna say it's great being back. It's been like 5 weeks since I've had any of my calls on Friday, so getting back into the swing of things. Not much happened here in Harrisburg, so I had a fun vacation.
What's that?
So I had a fun vacation.
Dude, man, some of the freaking photos you were posting were just kind of astonishing, and just kind of like, we talked a little bit, throughout the break a little bit about some of the stuff you've been doing, and it sounded like it was freaking amazing.
Yeah, no, it was pretty fun. We drove out to Colorado. We went to Colorado Springs, which is very conservative,
to say the least. I mean, yeah, conservative. Like, did you have a Coors while you were there?
No. We went to whatchamacallit. Went to like one of the amphitheaters. one of the like Red Rocks, like one of the rock amphitheaters out there that you can hike through, and just like the fucking conversations people were having there on the trail about like loving Jesus and being a follower of God and stuff like that. Just like saying stuff that you wouldn't be hearing like anywhere else, like on the East Coast. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, and multiple conversations, like the evangelicalism has like definitely has a stronghold out there. So that was fun. We went down over to Durango, drove through the Rockies, went into Utah, Arizona, Moab, Bryce Canyon, hit a bunch of parks. No, it was a great trip.
Yeah, I said I have friends who are looking for their next round of national park trips. They just went out there too as well. They went to like Glacier National Park, did some stuff up in that area, and I said, "Oh boy, I'll get the list for you from Sean because some of the stuff that you did." Hey, you gotta tell folks though about like what was that one trail called, like the Angel's Death, or is it like you know,
Angel's Landing?
Find your way to your own demise path trail? Is that what it was?
So while we were in Bryce Canyon, this is one of the things I've been wanting to do for like years.
Yeah.
I had a high school teacher who got me into like the outdoor stuff, like in that when I was that like age, rock climbing and stuff like that, hiking. You know, I grew up in the Scouts, so you know, just helped move that along more. And like he was talking about like Angel's Landing, like when I was back like a senior in high school, talking about like the trail and like what it was like. Yeah. And exactly what he was talking about back then. The only difference between now and then is like back then it wasn't as heavily trafficked. Now it's like jammed up all the time.
Yeah.
But it was an awesome trail. So like for the setup is you know, we're staying at the lodge, so it's a half mile to get to the trailhead from the lodge, and we're staying in the park. So I decided to just wake up at like 7:45 and fuck it, I'm going hiking. I'm gonna do this today and not like, because I was gonna wait, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just get it over with like now. So it was really nice. The first like mile and a half, 2 miles were the first 2 miles was literally just like switchbacks going straight up the canyon wall, and then the last half mile is like, you know, we're scrambling on a rock face. Like with 1,000-foot drops on both sides. It was awesome.
Like I mean, it looked like the trail. I mean, how wide was the trail at that point at the top?
So the trail starts off like, so the trail when you're going onto it, you get up this canyon, you're on the overlook, which is where like most people will stop. This is like the most dangerous trail in the country. 13 people have died. 14 people have died there since 2000, like falling off. But that's a different story.
No, because you made it.
No, because a lot of people who fell off, they're not falling off during the hike. They're falling off fucking around, taking pictures and stuff like that. So like, but the trail. So like, get up to the top. You start off. First, you gotta go up like there's chains set up all along the rock face. So you're like you're scrambling on the side of a sandstone rock, which was pretty fun. You had a chain, and then you get to the second part, which is like the spine of it, and when you drop down and it goes back up, that part is like 8-9 feet wide, with like 800 to like 1,200 foot drop offs on both sides of you, and it's just like.
I'll tell you from the pictures, because like after I saw some of yours, I watched online. It looked like it was even more narrow than that. So
some of the camera angles are pretty bad. Like people are posting. Like I felt pretty comfortable up there. Like it was pretty much like that spine was just like flat, sandstone. So it was just like, I mean, there were parts of it like we had to go through crevasses within the rocks, like because you just had to like squeeze through.
Yeah.
Parts when you're stepping up, like. To like the next rock face or the next like ledge, the next stone is up where your waist is at. So you're stepping up like that high. Yeah. Like it was a full body workout getting up there. But no, like once we got up to the top, the view was just like spectacular. Definitely like worth it. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. And even like going back on it, I think like, even was a few weeks ago, like, it's still just like, holy shit, like I actually did that. Like that type of feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, Bryce Canyon, Zion Canyon was really nice. Like I've been to Bryce and the Grand Canyon, and I would definitely put like Zion behind the Grand Canyon. It's like some of the best parks I've been to.
Yeah,
and that's like even going to Yosemite and Yellowstone.
You put Bryce at the top?
No, I would say Bryce is probably like fourth on the list.
Oh, gotcha.
It's, like Bryce is really nice for what it is. And it's a really great park. You can do it within a day and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did a 20-mile hike and then like a 6-mile hike within a day and a half of getting there and leaving. I would say Zion is just like awe-inspired.
Yeah.
Almost like going to Yosemite, like seeing Yosemite Valley, like the valley floor and everything, but like seeing just how the stones are and just how wide and open it is. And then also like seeing what it was like from the top of the Angel's Landing was awesome. Like there's still more I want to do there, but yeah. So.
Nice, man. Fantastic. So
how was your trip?
It was, I tell you, mine was like, it was like unplug, right? I literally like this time I was like, you know what? I'll bring a computer, right? But I'm gonna stay off it as much as possible. I read 3 books. I was in the ocean with my kids, like multiple days. So I had some great waves down in kind of like the Wildwood area, or kind of south, the Wildwood Crest, Diamond Beach area is kind of where we were down in. But it was really awesome. We were lucky. We got to bring one of my son's friends with us for the first part of the vacation. He's who came from the Gay Men, right? The family of the Gay Men, and he came with us for the first week. So that was great. 'Cause usually he's down there and he's like, he's 12 going on 13, right? So he's at that point like, it's like you can't parents like don't want to be with the little kids, right? So I'm by myself. But so that was really great. Everybody was, I think, ready to decompress, which was awesome. So we got to spend some time with family, and then for the second week, it was just like my immediate family, and so it was just it was really nice, right? We haven't been someplace all together. My wife has had to, we've been working so crazy for the past year. So, I mean, that was awesome just to be kind of out and about, going on some bike rides. We were down there was the sand sculpture competition was going on there. We went and kind of checked that out. It's freaking amazing, sand sculpture. It was like, we took a bike ride, like down, it took us like what, a 15-minute bike ride, go out, walk on the beach, look at sand sculpture, stuff like this. And then towards the end, we went on I've never been on like a dolphin watch before. But we took a boat out, kind of like a not tiny boat, but a smaller boat. Wasn't one of the kind of massive ones that goes out, and that was awesome. The guy who ran it was, lots of good information about dolphins, about the area, about the geology, the ecology of the area, and my son and my wife tend to get like seasick and car sick and things like this. Nobody got seasick or car sick, right? My son towards the end was a little bit out, but we got to see these dolphins. It was just amazing, and stuff like that. It was just like, it felt good. Just as corny as it might sound, but it felt good just to be like, even like sitting out in the little deck or out on the thing and just kind of having the sounds of the ocean and the ocean air coming in. Yeah,
I know, that's how I felt. Like, like being able to just sit back. I mean, we went to Monument, which was pretty awesome. Seeing Monument and being able to just like sit there, smoke a vape, just like
with sage, of course, right? Because desert sage.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like it sounds like your trip was a lot less stressful than mine. Mine was stressful because I was the designated co-pilot the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And we ended up driving 6,000 miles across the country.
Yeah.
But it just felt good, even like how like tiring that was. It felt good, like just to decompress, like with this past year and a half, like, and just like, yeah.
Yeah, I said on Monday's show, Out to Coop Live on Monday. I did kind of like a version of what we're doing here today, kind of just more talking about some stuff. Didn't have any guests, and it reminds me. It was a good reminder, I think, for me, of how important it is to just kind of do the self-care stuff once in a while, right? I mean, I don't think I recognize, my wife will tell you this, I don't think I recognize how like constant work I tend to be, right? That's kind of goes to my default thing. And by work, I don't mean like just Kutztown University, like where I teach, but I mean staying up on the politics, working on kind of like what I'm going to do for the podcast, reading about stuff with all that kind of like focus. And it's important to kind of, I do think it is important to kind of take a step back once in a while when you can. I mean, because there's most of the time, I think it feels like it doesn't feel like you can step back because there's so much going on.
It was funny. So like the day we come home, the day we're traveling home is the Monday when Sandy Wire gets arrested. So I wanted to like just bring this in, like this.
There you go.
I literally just like it, like there was that Monday, and it's just like my phone's blowing up.
Remind everybody who it is. Yeah.
Sandy Wire is the lady with the fucking rat's nest on her head, showing up to all of the reopen rallies, all of the reopen rallies, the Stop the Steal rallies, the anti-vaccine rallies, the audit the vote rallies, like just showing up to everything. I'm pretty sure she was a bus rider from Mastriano. I'm not sure, but she took the bus down to she's been down to DC on the 6th. And I have pictures of her. I have a really good photo of her with Mastriano in the background with her audit the vote shirt on and her hair. But so a couple of the things that like she got arrested that Monday, turned herself in, but she was in the Capitol lobbying the Republican leadership for vote audits that whole entire week out of Mastriano's office. So she was in the Capitol that Friday before she got arrested, knowing she's going to get arrested, because Roxbury explained, like, when you know you're getting arrested by the FBI, they just don't show up at your door and arrest you. Yeah, they do that but most of the time, like you have to turn yourself in on this date. Like you're being arrested. You're getting a letter.
Right.
You're getting notified in the mail. So like most likely she knew she was getting arrested and was still fucking showing up to the Capitol with this vote audit stuff. And just shows you how brazen these people are.
Well, look, and I think it's only getting worse. Well, yeah. Like here's the thing, I
only want to talk about that part right now, but
yeah.
I mean, like, I guess we can go back to it, but so we'll get back to that part in a second, because it is getting worse. And I've been thinking about this, like, these people just don't give a fuck.
Right, exactly.
They just don't care. So my phone's blowing up all day. I'm talking to a reporter, telling them just some background information on Sandy, and they're like, yeah, so where were you at the past few weeks? Told them my vacation, told them that, I was hiking Angel's Landing, and they're also like into the outdoors, so they knew exactly what I was talking about. I'm just like, oh man, so you just went from like spending the past year tracking all these right wingers, fucking around Mastriano, doing all this stuff, to then just like go and do like one of the most dangerous hikes in the country with no sweat. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. I'll do it again without thinking. It's just like, that's awesome. It's like, what a way to just like unwind and get away from things.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, even like that day, just getting back, like Sandy Wire stuff, like getting back into the saddle with that. And yeah, so.
Well, I talked about this a little bit before the, I don't know if you want to get into this now, but it's like, you and I were talking about a little about this before the show, is like, for in different ways about how it's difficult. I mean, one of the things we had to chat about is like one of the things that's going on right now. It's like like the world's freaking on fire. It's like, I mean, literally the West is like on fire. We had like record heat waves that are kind of like 112 degrees that are in like Portland, Oregon, which is like unheard of. Right? It was hotter in Portland than it was in Texas. You have these huge kind of like torrential downpours. These kind of like kind of stalled out. Right.
Oh, like literally like 5 days after we left Zion or Bryce.
This is exactly. I was just thinking
like,
this.
There was a flash flood, like that had to close the park down. But no, I mean, like when we were in Arches, there was a forest fire going over in Utah, on the LaSalle Mountains, which were like 25 miles south of Moab itself, and you could see the smoke, like literally like a couple of photos I got, the one with the sunset of the mountains in the background, and then like that sand structure in the forefront, the rock structure, like you can see the colors coming out of the smoke coming like off the mountain. Got a couple photos like from with my other lens. You can like zooming in, and you can see just like the smoke streaming off the sides and just like filling up the valley. The same thing when we were in Canyonlands. All that smoke was just covering up the canyon. It was raining a little bit that day, so it gave like an orange glow. But yeah, no, I mean, it was fucking hot. We were in Durango. It was like 92, 93 degrees. Wasn't that bad. But the people there, like, it never gets as hot.
Yeah.
Like, and they don't have air conditioning the way we do. Because you go outside, like, it's 92, 93 degrees during the day. It's hot. But nighttime,
it gets cold.
It's
well,
like
not cold,
50,
but right.
It's like 50.
Right.
55, like 60. It's actually like pretty good. So
well, I remember this is true. I remember like in Taos, New Mexico, for example, where I kind of spent a little time. Like you have a lot of kind of like the adobe structures that are up there, or kind of like Adobe-esque, right? Not there's the original ones obviously, but then there's one that's built in there, and that's what it's. There's no air conditioning because it'll get super hot like at time, not even super hot, but like in the 90s and things like this during the day. But then it cools way off, right? You just kind of open up all the windows, let all that kind of like cool air come in, and the structure kind of holds in the cool. For a good chunk of the day. So, but that's it. And I was also looking at that where you're out there too. There were like fire restrictions, right? Campfire restrictions all throughout Zion National Park, like all throughout this area because of the extreme drought that's going on. And I think that the way that you put it was something like, it's like a little bit kind of like say disconcerting, right? Or a little bit, I can't remember the word that you used, but
the cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, the cognitive dissonance of
just
it,
like the expansion that's going on. The not even like the expansion in the traffic, but like in the Rockies, like they're like the places between Colorado Springs and Denver are filling it. Like that, just like development, it's still going on. It's just like as like the fucking snowpack is disappearing behind you, or the glaciers are disappearing on the mountains, like right where like this shit's like going. It's just like it's just so like polarizing. You're not like seeing that, and then just like driving through the mountains was pretty fun. Like we drove through like US 160 through Durango, from like Pueblo and like through southern Colorado, and that was awesome. But no, I mean, it's just like it's seeing like all this expansion out there, and then also like one person was talking about like there's really libertarian guys next to us on one of these train rides. We talking about like Lake Mead drying up. He's like, no one's talking about this. This is the biggest stories no one's talking about. Like Lake Mead is like in its lowest levels like through in years. The water is so low in Hoover Dam we're not even producing power.
It's something.
Yeah, I mean, like, and how much of this is climate change? Yeah, a lot. And also like how much is this is like our ever expanding developments and people wanting fresh lawns and golf courses. Like you can't have this life of luxury anymore because of climate change, and you're now compounding the water problems that are going to be happening in the Southwest. I mean, the Southwest is going to be inhospitable.
Yeah, right.
In a few decades.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and
unless like major things happen now, like major restrictions on water usage. Like, I don't even know if that can help, but like, okay, no golf courses, no like green lawns, no pools, like just cut that stuff out.
Right. And everybody, well, not everybody.
I mean, we're going to hit that point sooner or later.
Oh yeah. Look, I mean, we're already there in so many ways. I mean, again, like with people, when you see people talk on like the news or even say general conversations, they're saying, okay, this is all, this is going to happen, right? But it's not like, this moment of climate change is not going to be like flicking on a light switch or flicking off a light switch, however you want to put it, right? It's going to happen in these kind of like these spikes and valleys, like any kind of climate change has happened. It's like, you're going to get these moments like right now we have kind of like historic droughts, right? We have historic wildfires, unprecedented heat in the north, in the Northwest. You've got these kind of like
hot as fuck right here in the Northeast,
with these kind of like, we've seen this
stretching like rainstorms, like almost like storms you would expect if you were down in like Florida.
Exactly.
Rains for 20 minutes, you get 3 inches of rain.
I mean, that just, that happened. I don't know if you saw this up in Germany. The same thing happened. Like, they don't get these kind of rains there. You have these like enormous, like, in northern Germany, and then it kind of moved down to southern Germany. Just these kind of like they call them training storms in some cases, right? Where you basically have this line of, I think it just kind of rides up the quarter of a front because the front has stalled out. So you got all this unstable air, and it just kind of keeps on going one after the other. And then in a short period of time, they got 6 inches of rain, and they like just freaking like tore up the towns. So this is, and I look, I said we went on this dolphin watch, and one of the things that, the guy who was talking about it was, just, you look at, if you look at any map and you look at the Jersey Shore, I mean, the Jersey Shore, it's like, you're on this little kind of sand island, right? It's like a barrier island or this kind of thing where, the beaches are, you can see the impacts of it. This is the second time that we've been down there, like in as many years. And a tropical storm has been there, right? So we had a tropical storm run through, right?
Yeah, I mean, I forgot about this past weekend, the remnants of that storm.
Yeah, exactly. And it ran up, and one of the things they said on the Dolphin Watch was that the way that there's these jetties that come out kind of in between like the Wildwood section and the Cape May section of the Jersey coast there in southern Jersey, and north of the jetty, right, what's happened, these currents are kind of increasing, and it's kind of like sand is all piling up. And again, this is part of this is natural. When you build a jetty, this happens on the north side of a jetty, or kind of like the upstream side of the jetty. It comes down, and it kind of, the sand starts to build up, and then on the south side, right, and the Cape May side, the sand starts to get washed away, right, because there's no jetty to stop it on there. And they're saying how that process has been increasing. Right. So it's normal to see that happen. Well, quote unquote, normal to have that happen. But now where Cape May's losing 2 inches of sand, kind of like a year now, of their beachfront, that's kind of rapidly increasing as you're seeing the increase of tropical storms and hurricanes kind of running up here with these torrential downpours. It's all exacerbating this stuff. And so you're kind of sitting here like in the midst of this awe of this like dolphin family, this little baby dolphin going on and kind of like coming up, and my daughter like jumping up and down like she's so excited, she just can't believe she's seeing this stuff. And then you're in this at this moment where it's like, yeah, this is all in jeopardy. You know what I mean? It's like
I know, I had the same feelings like out in the Southwest, just like driving through, and just like, yeah, I might be like, might be like one of the last chances in my life to go out here, but also like might be like one of the last generations of people to enjoy seeing this stuff in that part of the country. Like yeah, like the structures will, like, Grand Canyon's not going anywhere. Like those places aren't going anywhere, but like the way our way of living will be.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, will Moab be inhabitable in 30 years? Like, or other towns? Like, it's just like it's. No, I mean, it's just like driving out there, just like, wow, I might be like one of the last like generations of people actually be able to see this stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So yeah, so we can bring it dark pretty quickly, everybody. We're back. Okay, so let's just go a little.
I mean, no, but it's hard not to think about this stuff when you're seeing this. Yeah. Like, you're seeing like all the mountains just getting like black from the fires and shit like that. But so how much is that natural or not? But yeah.
And I recognize, like I said this to you before the show too, is like I made a very, very conscious effort not to go the doom and gloom route while I was on vacation. And as I, because I'm all this stuff is happening in my head, as I'm looking out at these, just, even just sitting by the ocean, like in the evening, right, as the sun's going down, and just kind of like letting the sound, the ocean, the wind, and all that kind of stuff. All this stuff is kind of there all at the same time, I mean, it's like these really contradictory, conflicted, and kind of like, like wide-ranging sets of emotions about that experience. And, I while I don't want to kind of just go to the doom room, I know how it could make it feel like helpless or whatever. But I think the point there is this is part of, our state of being now. And I do think that there's something that can be, say, liberating to a certain degree when we're all in this and we're recognizing this stuff and saying that, this stuff is important to fight for, right? There is grieving that is part of this process, but there's also that saying, all the more reason to, step up and kind of save this stuff. And, not to make too of an abrupt kind of transition into just like a little bit of politics for the day, but, this is one of the things with this, this infrastructure bill right now that's happening in the nationwide. Like, they're trying to do it through the, well, not even bigger than infrastructure, but they're trying to do this through the reconciliation, right? There's, look, there's the bipartisan nonsense, which is about like filling potholes, right? I mean, there's that one that's, getting all this press, but basically what Bernie Sanders has been doing, working on with Biden. Right?
The PRO Act got into the infrastructure bill or into the budget. Did you see that this week?
No, I did not.
Yeah, they're gonna put the PRO Act into reconciliation, into the budget bill.
Interesting.
Because it will have an adverse effect on the NLRB.
Interesting.
A budgetary effect.
I missed that. See, this shows you where my head's been.
Seriously. Thank you to Connor in our group chat. Connor works the Strike Wave. But yeah, so I think the PRO Act might be might be something to watch for. But I think Bernie made the announcement of that this week. Yeah,
okay. I missed that part because I know it's like I saw the announcement of those $3.5 trillion kind of reconciliation bill, and Sanders has been out doing a bunch of kind of interviews on this stuff, and I think one of the most critical aspects of what's in there has to do with the climate infrastructure. Right. I mean, it has to be this has got to be about the just transition. Right. This has to be about kind of setting up, say, the economy or our infrastructure for climate change, which is happening as we speak. And you've got, of course, this goes right back to the whole kind of Manchin and cinema stuff. And Manchin comes out and basically says, I'm really disappointed about all the climate stuff that's in this bill. And basically kind of trying to make, insert himself in there once again to say that, he might be willing to vote against it in reconciliation because there's climate stuff in there when the climate stuff is what's absolutely critical. And so you got these two interrelated problems. Number one, you can't get a kind of clean bill that goes through kind of the regular session where you can actually make it a kind of fully coherent bill. You have to do this kind of Senate maneuver through reconciliation to do this, and you can't do it through the regular business. Why? Because the Democrats refuse to get rid of the filibuster. Joe Biden made this big speech in Philadelphia last week, and he said, "Hey, we must defend voting rights," but didn't say one freaking word about the filibuster. As a matter of fact, when he was asked by reporters afterwards, "What about the filibuster? You want to get rid of the filibuster?" He like makes some lame ass joke about saying like, "I'm not filibustering now," and then walks off. Right? I mean, unless that filibuster is gone, this doesn't happen. And that's also true. It's been playing out with voting rights this week. I mean, you go from the national ticket to seeing this, like, again, no way any bill is getting through unless you get rid of the filibuster. And then, there's these kind of maneuvers to try to make a carve out just for voting rights. But again, it's the same principle. You want to have the fight. And then you have right here, like right down to Pennsylvania, in our own backyards, we see like everything ramping up, looking for like every which way to go about kind of destroying voting rights. So it's like, it seems like that, these things go to the, I don't think it's hyperbole at this point to say that we're seriously watching a process where our democracy is in serious jeopardy about being able to accomplish. And the Democrats are more concerned about the Democrats are more concerned. I was listening to David Sirota on our drive out. He was on, I think, like that Friday. On the Majority Report?
On the Majority Report.
Yeah.
He had like a really good point. Like, he said, like, the biggest lie in Harrisburg, or not Harrisburg, in Harrisburg as well, but like in DC, is this notion of bipartisanship. Like, no, like 70% of Americans support voting reform. 80% of Americans support this infrastructure bill. X amount of Americans support, raising minimum wage. Like, majority popular bills supported by everyone in every political spectrum. That's bipartisan. Like, bipartisan. That's
exactly right.
Bipartisan isn't fighting over like the 50th vote or finding 10 senators.
Exactly.
So you can have like this like photo op or like seem important. Like, that's not bipartisanship.
No,
that's just performative politics.
Well, but it shows you you're limited, like what your perspective on the world is, right? You're thinking about bipartisanship. They're thinking about bipartisanship in terms of the people who are existing within the Senate.
Yeah,
right.
The people in that room.
Right. So I think about it like this. Again, I said this on the show a few weeks back, but I'm going to say it again. some free political consulting work on my part. Once again, this is how you do things. If you're a progressive right now, you want to going out there, you want to kind of deal with this kind of bipartisanship. What you do is you go out and you kind of like have these events around particular issues, right? And like, let there be Republicans, registered Republicans, Democrats, independents in the crowd, right? And then when you find out that they're supportive of this stuff, you highlight their stories and say, this is the real bipartisanship, not this nonsense that they're talking about on the national news. Because people, this stuff matters to people. And when you start going around and talking about those issues and organizing right that and shifting the narrative around what are we talking about when we mean bipartisanship, right? It's not enough just to say like, well, no, they're not talking. No. Then let's do it here. All the polling shows that the vast majority of these policies that are being pushed by progressives are super, super popular, and they're going to make significant differences in people's lives. So you got to get out with people to do this shit, because what's happening in DC and like any other, give me any of your freaking civility caucus in whatever state or locality you're in. You go like, as Cyril and I on the Wednesday show said this week, you took the quote from the miners who were on strike down there in Alabama, who said like, this playing nice shit ain't cutting it, right? Because it's not, right? So I don't know, man.
Yeah. Do we want to wrap it up and just go into like
So,
the other stuff?
Well, yeah. Why don't you go talk about Trump?
Yeah, I mean, like of all the fucking Trump stories that came out over this past couple weeks, the really shocking one. Not shocked. Well, yeah, it's shocking because it's shocking and not shocking at the same time.
Right.
It's shocking because this is still being allowed, and with like we're still like fucking letting Trump do what he wants.
Right.
And like there's just no accountability to him whatsoever. The fact that he like bilked $50,000 or is just like forcing the Secret Service agents to stay at Trump hotels so the Trump organization can make money off of it, like as it's like under criminal investigation, and as like Weisselberg just got indicted, like as like like your key people in your family, the family are like are going down. This motherfucker is like still is still bilking the government, and they're allowing him to do it. Like that right there is just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
I think the Secret Service will always be happy if they get to stay at my hotels.
It's and like it's one thing after another this week too, as well with these.
Oh yeah, I mean it's one thing after another. The book that came out.
Yeah.
I think that's those accusations are just like, it makes me like want to actually read the fucking thing.
Like this is the one that you're talking about, the book that came out about the coup thing, right?
Yeah, about the attempted coup. This makes like,
because there were a couple books that just came out. They were both the same. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but I normally don't get caught up in like this type of hype with these books.
Yeah, exactly.
But like this makes me actually like want to like just bang it out and get it over with. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's just like what the past 6 months of my life has been. And then also, like, we hit the fucking 6-month anniversary part of the insurrection this month. Yeah. While you were on vacation. But it's also like how it just came and went. And just no one.
Wow.
Like there's just been no commission yet.
Yeah, just so people know, that book that Sean was talking about, we were just talking about, that was by Washington Post reporters Carol Lenig and Philip Rucker, and the book is called I Alone Can Fix It. Right, that's the one where we get all the quotes have been falling for this week about the generals who basically said, yeah, we were preparing for a coup. So we were not to do the coup, but to prevent the coup. We were to stop the coup, right? Exactly.
And then also, like, Trump's lawyers were so fucking freaked out about the insurrection that they thought he was going to get arrested that night, which he should have.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's just the thing about like this though, and this book, and there's just going to be no accountability by the Democrats.
Right. Oh, exactly. I mean, you can count on that for sure.
I mean, and it's amazing how like motherfucker tried to overthrow an election, and you're just not going to hold him accountable.
No, look, this is where this kind of like, this like,
because I mean, at this point, it feels like the commission's just performative politics.
Yeah.
Because like that's what should be done, but like this should have happened like a month after it should not have taken 6 months for a commission to get together on this.
No, and this is where like this
And
like American exceptionalism stuff stands in our way because we think like, oh, yeah, I know, in other places that that moves like this that we've seen has led to kind of like the withering away or the destruction or the overthrow of democratic regimes. I understand that, but we're America, so that's not going to happen.
yeah, so
Anyway, so yeah, so there's the fun. So that's the fun. So look, we're not gonna go too deep down in there. I had the same feeling you had about the Trump stuff that was coming out. I mean, it was more like I would not read more than a paragraph into stories on it because I was just like, you know what, I really, in the absence of some real moves towards accountability and prosecution and kind of reckoning about for the state of our democracy, I could care less about like the inner workings. I'm going to read that book though, by the way, because I think I've been waiting for books like this that are actually getting into some of the background and things like this, because I just think it, as a narrative is a part of the story. But it's I mean, I'm not going to get involved with that stuff because, like, I think we need to be focused on some other things right now other than Trump, right? But
and also, I mean, like and also like the exact opposite has happened in the 6 months since like the insurrection. Like all the pundits, like, oh, well, maybe now like the Republican Party will really just like.
That's what I mean. I mean, it's like
it's just like it's just like
now they realize what their inaction has done. Mitch McConnell's now going to see the what? Come on,
So
really,
like,
people? Seriously, come on.
and it's just like there's now reports like coming out that like the Republican Party is now more emboldened with their support of Trump.
Absolutely.
Now today than they were like 6 months ago.
Absolutely. Well, look, Sean, you saw it, right? Right after the insurrection, right? I do believe that a bunch of Republicans were kind of like jolted, right, for a moment, right? And they were legitimately scared because it was themselves, right? That's the only reason, right? But they were legitimately scared. Holy crap! What did we release? And then within probably a week, right, they made the calculations, and then boop. And once you make the calculation, we've talked about this kind of process over and again. Once you make the calculation that you're going to go with the extremes, right? You're going to go with the big lie. You're going to go with these things. Then
I mean, he's just a vehicle for them at this point.
No, that's it. They're all in. I mean, they're all in on this. They're all in on it, and they are completely like separated from all kind of fact-based like world right now. It doesn't even freaking matter. They've got their own media infrastructure. They got their organizations thing. And for anybody who thinks that they're going to go away and the rational Republican is going to return, is just telling themselves a bedtime story. So just go to sleep, right, and then let the rest of us kind of deal with it because that is unhelpful at this point.
Can we continue this after the break?
Yeah, let's do that after the break.
Because I got things I got to say about Mastriano and Grove.
Oh, just dandy. All right. Well, this is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Yes, it is our freewheeling kind of Friday news roundup. Sean and I are back from vacation and ready to roll. You can help support this show and everything else we got going on by going to patreon.com/rcpress and becoming a patron for as little as $5 a month. We'll be back right after this quick break. Hey everybody, it's Kevin Money, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Welcome back. Sorry for that little sound glitch right there. But we're just gonna get right back into it. Sean, away you go.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about what we were building upon the last before the break. And this also goes back into what we were saying earlier. These people, the whole Republican Party, those who are getting arrested, those who went along with the big lie, and those who are pushing all these voting rights bills, they just don't give a fuck. They just don't. They and that's what we're and it's just been interesting seeing Seth Grove, we pretty much threatened to put he made a threat to put voting rights restrictions on the ballot in 2023 in order to steal the election for 2024 for Trump, in order to change the constitutional amendment. So now we're going to have to deal with this for the next 2 years, to make that law. You have Mastriano, who is going around with his sham fucking his expeditions looking for bamboo paper, bamboo printing machines around here. I don't know. I mean, they all just don't give a fuck.
Right.
And it's just it's just amazing how the media still hasn't picked up on that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just seeing these reports and all, and I'm just shocked that the Republicans are just insulating themselves and just tightening their grip even further and further, and hardening, restricting more that snake. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's just
well, I do have to say, I think that Chris Hayes, in terms of the national cable news media, is he's been staying on this, right? And even Rachel Maddow's picking up on a little bit. And I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that he basically made reference to your guys' work on this week's show. He went and tracked, was talking about what Mastriano did, was talking about how that he was funded buses that went down the insurrection, and made reference to stuff that we've been talking about on the show now for a while. So it seems there's people are starting to pay more attention to this, at least in some circles, and that's good news. I think the New Yorker story really was super helpful in terms of getting pointing to some stuff what's going on. And they had who was on the show? Oh yeah, Will Bunch. That's was this part of it. Will Bunch was on the show, and what was it? I might be all confused. I mean, this might have been on the Majority Report that he was on. But Will Bunch was saying, he had a great article about it this week. He said, look, every Pennsylvania has switches from Democratic to Republican every election cycle, right? After, you have a Democrat goes through for their 2 terms of governor, and when they're done, when it's open, it switches parties. That's been the historical trend. So if we're to follow the historical trend right now, again, I don't mean to suggest that this is a fate of nature, right, or something, an act of nature, but we're to follow that historical trend, we're going to shift to Republicans. And if Mastriano is the one who's kind of up in front, that's super, super dangerous.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the historical trends with that, because the Democrats overcame that with Corbett 4 years ago,
yep,
or 8 years ago. But
yep,
I'm more or less concerned about the Democrats. You don't lose elections through historical trends. I think you lose elections through fucking things up in the moment. And Democrats have a really good propensity of fucking things up. And I just hope that
I think that was Bunch's point. I think more he was saying that more for the fact of don't be stupid, people. Right?
I mean, we're seeing 2 contrasting messages coming right now, between this with the two statewide candidates. Josh Shapiro is one, and then with Fetterman. Fetterman went on Ali Velshi over the weekend, talk about Mastriano, and pretty much just called Mastriano a joke. This is nothing to worry about.
That is the wrong thing to be talking about.
And that he's not the sharpest tool in the GOP shed, and that people aren't really taking this seriously. I don't know, he very vague, people aren't taking this seriously. Who's not taking this seriously? Because Corman has really shown himself to not be a leader in the face of Wagner. When they kicked out Pileggi in favor of Corman, he let the Republican caucus run rampant, and he just never had control of the Crazy Caucus. And now, like, the Crazy Caucus in the Republican Senate has grown tremendously over the past 2 years with Mastriano, Dush, like people getting in office who are replacing like very conservative Republicans, but also Republicans who towed the party line. Where like these are Republicans who will not toe that line. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like just complete loose cannons. And you're gonna tell me that like people aren't taking him seriously, or that people are just like you know what I mean? Or like this is a joke.
Yep.
Like he compared it to like saying, yeah, it's like me using my letterhead and sending a subpoena over to the Pittsburgh Steelers to start me at left tackle. Like he fucking said that on Tell Sheet. Like, and just going down like the Chief Wiggum or Bar Brady route, saying nothing to see here, folks, just nothing to see. Like almost like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then like Shapiro goes on, which I am not a Shapiro fan by any stretch of the imagination, but he said like, no, basically saying like, no, our democracy at stake. These people are undermining our democracy, and that this person is the leading candidate for governor in 2 years. Like, and you're damn right we're going to fight this every step of the way. Like, it's just two very contrasting messages on Mastriano from like, you know, Shapiro and then Fetterman, where like I think Fetterman should know better at this point.
Yeah. I agree. I didn't mean to take.
If you're not going to attack, if you're not going to like take softballs, and I don't know, like I think like ridicule and just saying, oh, this can't happen here. Like,
that's what I mean. That's the other side of that American exceptionalism stuff, right? That's the idea that like, oh, we're just going to cut a joke about it instead of taking it deadly seriously. Like you can't, you can't on the one hand talk about this as a serious threat and then to be like, whatever, you know, this is just.
And like
nonsense.
also Fetterman comes from a class of people that won't be affected by comes from a group of people, a section of the population that has money, that has wealth, and that won't be negatively impacted by a Mastriano or a Republican right-wing government.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that also,
I mean, it's like, look, I understand the impulse about ridicule about how crazy, because look, these people are fucking
nuts.
They're like out of it.
I'm not going to like be the first one to tell you that. Like I've been saying this for the past year, like after going to all these rallies, like, these people are not operating in the same like playing field as like everyone else.
Right, exactly.
But they're dangerous too, and
yeah,
just
exactly.
Like we saw what they did, like yeah, and it's just been like no one really standing up to Mastriano until this point. Governor Wolf had a point to say no, he should resign, he should be expelled, and passed and whiffed on that. Like there's just been like but.
Crazy, man.
Man.
Well, at least they're having good rallies. I guess that's it.
Yes. There was a cross burning on the Capitol steps.
Nice.
On Wednesday.
Nice. Good old school Klan stuff. Good. There you go.
I got a couple of sound drops from this. Like they were just like, oh man. I actually have to pull up the fucking quote for this. Like. So there was a rally on the critical race theory. Sorry, there was a rally against critical race theory. I think it just shows you the how this is all getting astroturfed by the right wing. Right. There was a Freedom Works representative there. There was a Heritage Foundation representative there. The person from Freedom Works was handing out signs. They had Freedom Works signs there. Like, so everyone was holding Freedom Works sign. Like your typical like right-wing astroturf bullshit. We're seeing the same thing we saw 10 years ago with the ACA town halls and the Tea Party attacking the politicians in town halls. We're now seeing that directed towards school boards. So these are actively recruiting people to go to school boards, yell at school board members, harass school board members, and then to focus on school board elections. So groups like No Left Turn in Education, one of the people who sits on that is that crazy fucking sheriff from You know what I mean? Like this.
I mean, seriously.
You have so there's at least like some like colored representation here against critical race theory. Like, but no, you have her. You have this group, No Left Turn Education, the Freedom Works. They've been co-opting these rallies against critical race theory all across the country. Just doing like some research on it, but you see them doing the same plan, the same like playbook from the Tea Party 10 years ago with Freedom Works, and it's the same shit that's going on now with critical race theory. So they had signs that said Pennsylvania parents know best, and this woman who was speaking came up from Florida with a nice southern twang, saying, holding a sign. Pennsylvania parents know best.
Pennsylvania can be the South again.
Well, here we go. Now I will tell you, like, I have a verbatim quote that I had to copy down.
All right, let's hear it.
No, I'll tell you this in a second. And then she had another sign there that says, "Stop racism, stop hate, stop critical race theory." So, and then like towards her, the end of her speech, she goes, I'm going to read this. I'm going to try not to laugh through it because holy shit. She goes, quote, "I'm going to tell you folks, this is a twisted truth and we have to be ahead of this message. I want you to continue to what you're doing because we're on the right side of the issue. We're on the right side of history, and continue fighting this in Pennsylvania because this isn't just about Pennsylvania. This is about the foundation of America, and we must preserve it so we can hand it over to our children." Just what Ronald Reagan said, quote, "We're one generation away," end quote. That's what they're trying to do. Our children, this generation, is under attack, and they're going to take away the foundations that we have been raised on, end quote.
My God.
Saying that with a fucking southern twang.
My God. So who was she? Do you know who she was?
She was the education reform director at Freedom Works.
Okay.
Like of the national organization director.
Let me just add to this, just show you who these people are. When Sean's talking about, say, this organization, No Left Turn in Education, this is something from Media Matters for America. So I just want to read the first paragraph here. Is that so? No Left Turn in Education has become one of the leading groups fear-mongering about the teaching of critical race theory in schools. The group and its founder, Alana Yaren Fishbein, have frequently used toxic and bigoted rhetoric on social media and right-wing media, including comparing the efforts of educators to that of Pol Pot, Vladimir Lenin, Adolf Hitler, and claiming that, quote, "black bigotry towards whites," unquote, is a, quote, "very real problem," unquote, complaining that, check this out, an educational video doesn't cover violence by black people, and promoting anti-LGBTQ rhetoric such as telling people to go back to Transylvania. This is who we're talking about. This grouping of people, right? And
I really like Pol Pot was first.
Pol Pot, gotta love that, right? You gotta love the Pol Pot. A good
like Pol Pot reference is like,
come on, I mean,
you're digging deep. You gotta dig for Pol Pot.
Gotta go for Pol Pot. Let's talk just for a second about the effects of this stuff, right? I don't want to derail. I want to get back to the rally in a second, but look, this is like from recent issue. I think it's July 11th. The Courier Times, Bucks County Courier Times. So a recent Pennsbury school board meeting, parents and taxpayers spent 90 minutes arguing that new racial equity policy and plan should never have been approved. And it was all about, here's it, quote, "You may not be calling it critical race theory and are discussing it as social and emotional learning, but we're not fooled," said school board candidate Jen Spillane of Yardley, right? That's the Pennsbury, right? Then in my own backyard here, and the Penridge School District, right? You got the same kind of stuff. Here it is from the same article. In neighboring Penridge School District, where systemic racism, sexism, and inclusion have been long ongoing contentious issues, the district's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative faces similar jeers as in other districts. Commonly referred to as a DEI, that is a Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion Initiative. The initiative is a collection of district goals to address where it may fall short educating students regardless of race, background, or abilities. A handful of residents of the district's June 16th meeting warned against implementing critical race theory following a DEI presentation earlier in the month. Penn Ridge Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education, Kathy Scheid, said critical race theory was not and will not be part of the curriculum. Yet, Hilltown resident Christine Baticki, who was running for school board, cast aspersions on the presentation for containing trigger words like culturally responsive curriculums as a way to hide critical race theory agenda. Broad concepts are being shared of the vision and goals, but we all know the devil is in the details. When implementing these things in real life, it can often lead to surprises, Baticki said. Right? This is what we're talking about. And they've acknowledged this now as being the school boards are the place. And I said this, you remember this on the show about more than a month ago now. It said this is going to be like the Tea Party. The Tea Party went to all these town hall meetings.
It was bubbling up.
This is where it's going, right? This is going to be the playbook leading into 2022. And now the fact that you've got Freedom Works, right, and these other dark money groups that are getting behind these rallies is only evidence.
Yeah, no, like when I went to the rally the other day, Roxbury's like, Sean, you gotta go over there. It's like, what? He's like, they got Freedom Works printing signs up there. And I'm like, okay.
I'm there. You don't need to say no more.
But like the fact that she like said, this is about the foundation of America and we must preserve it so we can hand it over to our children. Which children? The white children?
Yes, that's what they mean. That's what they mean.
Oh, it's exact. Oh, I know that's what they mean. But like, and then had some good photos coming out of that. I like the meme I made. Did you see the meme? Like,
I did see the meme.
How it started, how it's going. Like pretty much like we took the photo from the 1950s of like school integration and like racist with the sign, the guy holding this, people holding the signs like race mixing is communism or Marxism, and just like CRT and
exactly.
Is racism and communism like or Marxism, and just a bunch of old fucking white people. I mean, it's amazing like seeing these rallies pop up, and it's the same thing like from 50 years ago. It's the same fucking people. Like,
right.
It's like
what's like disturbing though too as well is like, you know, I'm harkening back to what you have like Phyllis Schlafly, right? Phyllis Schlafly when kind of like carried out all the anti-abortion. What's that?
And the Eagles, her right? She's with the Eagles, right? Or she had that group, the Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, or not?
I don't know. No. She was the one. No, that's where they took their name from. I think she was the one who was like, you know.
I thought she was a founding member of that.
She may have been, but she was the one who let out as like the kind of the right wing, super kind of like right wing, like Christian, anti-feminist, right, anti-abortion, all this kind of thing. She led this, and she kind of organized conservative women, right, against. Right, feminism and this other kind of stuff, right? And she had she was incredibly powerful within the right-wing movement. What you see happening here too is you notice who people we've been talking about is like these are a lot of kind of really right-wing women who are kind of running for school board. Right? Yes, there's some men that are there too as well. But what's notable, at least like in the school districts, the school boards where kind of we're seeing this in Bucks County, is these are women who are not kind of like old. Right. These are not kind of grannies that are doing this. These are kind of like mothers of school kids right now.
Soccer moms, 40s,
exactly.
50s.
And so that's what we're talking. And you've also seen this. There's been some reporting on this. I wasn't thinking about talking about this, so I didn't look it up for reference today. But I read some reporting on this. So it's saying this is where you see some of the biggest inroads in QAnon is among younger folks, a younger demographic, and women. Right. And so, you know, this has been, and it's all mixed in with this kind of right-wing fundamentalist Christian nonsense, and white supremacy, of course. You know, got to have the white supremacy. Really, this is all about white supremacy, with all these kind of nice little flavors thrown in. But this is really serious stuff.
Yeah, and then also with like I said it before. I mean, a lot of these rallies. What was more surprising going to these rallies over the past year, how many younger people were showing up.
Yep. Like
in their 20s and 30s. So. Like, and how much of a problem that is.
Yeah, you know what? And it's like there's certain. I don't want to go on to go to the wax philosophical here, kind of too much. But there's like, you know, this is something that you and I have talked a lot about how the left really needs to be prepared, like, and progressives, the broad left, right, need to be more prepared to be like, you know, throwing punches here, right? That instead of playing again. this plain nice shit ain't cutting it, right? I mean, it's the same kind of, and I think that's true. But there are things that we just can't, that you cannot do what the right wing does. Right. And that's what I mean. But I don't mean that as a warning. I mean that as like, look, a lot of the inroads for these folks, for younger folks, are just these like off the wall conspiracy theories, right? That require like severing like your line to like reality. And then inhabiting this separate other world of like special inclusion or something like this. And like that's their pathway in.
The anti-vax death toll, like the death toll with the anti-vaxxers going on. The fucking baseball. The fact that Major League Baseball is fucking canceling games after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Like everyone that goes into a fucking stadium has to be vaccinated or wear a mask besides the ball players. And it's like, we're a year and a half into this and you fuckers are causing an outbreak in your own league.
Yep.
Because of the fucking conspiracy theories and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I think look, I think this is we really need to think hard about like, you know, like where the safest places are, and I think we should start going there. Like, for example, I know right now Tennessee is now by far the safest place because they just fired their woman who was the head of their vaccine control stuff and have forbid anyone from even talking to kids about vaccines. So it must be fine. Right? I mean, did you see that story this week?
I saw that they canceled. I saw, yeah, but I didn't look at.
It was insane, Sean. They went like this. There was a few kind of like, you know, fringe cases of doctors who were contacting the Department of Health and say, look, we've had some you know, minors approach us about wanting to get vaccines. Their parents don't want them to get vaccines, but they're scared, and they're like 16 or 17 years old or something like this, right? And we don't know what to do, right? And so they reached out for advice. So this woman who's a head of the Tennessee's vaccine, I'm forgetting her name right now, but head of the Tennessee's vaccine program, reaches out to the state, right? The, you know, Republican dominated state, and asked the legal, well, what, you know, how do we handle this? Like, what is this? So they looked up some legal history, right? And what this, and there was cases and there was precedent before when during the AIDS epidemic, right, that they had to kind of settle this, and they came up with this policy and what was the legal standing of this. And they said, no, look, children of 14 and above, right, can go and seek out medical care without their parents' permission, right? And then given that this is a vaccine in the same concept, this would be what would do. So this woman takes it, right, and sends it out to these doctors, say, okay, here's the answer to your question. It sends out this firestorm, right, of all these folks. And so they get rid of her, right? They fire her from her job, or they basically ask her to resign or fire. She says, no, you're going to have to fire me. I'm not going to resign because I didn't do anything wrong, right? And what's the end? But not only did they say, they pass it, say you are no longer allowed to talk to kids about getting the vaccine, right, without the parents' consent. They ban the Department of Health from talking to kids about any vaccines, not just none, right? So I mean that's kind of where we're at. So anyways, that's kind of gets us sidetracked a little bit here, but yeah, I mean it's been crazy. It's all throughout the South, in Missouri, Mississippi. I mean, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna have a fourth wave.
Yeah, we're in it already. I mean, you see this like in not where is it? Not St. Louis, but in Springfield. Springfield?
I didn't see that.
Oh, they've already hit capacity on hospital beds.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, it's just been pretty nuts.
No one was wearing masks. There were no mask mandates. Like, yeah, we hit this one guy. Just like we're waiting to get like barbecue in Nashville, and we're literally standing across from where the Lorraine Motel where King was assassinated. Like, and this guy's like, you know, I'm from Texas. We don't do masks in Texas. And then just like started like just talking all this fucking bullshit and just like about like, you know, if they would have just like, we could have saved millions of lives if we just kept on going forward with the hydroxychloroquine. Like,
I mean, seriously, what do you do with these folks? I mean, seriously, I mean, I really mean that. I mean, because I don't think there's, I don't think it's worth talking. I mean,
and yeah, like just saying some of this dumb shit, just like, he's like, I was down here when Martin Luther King was shot, saw the riots and all that, and then just said like, and they went along and like, Yeah, and then BLM, they burnt down all the restaurants last year. And it's just like, no, they fucking didn't.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yep.
I'm standing here just biting my tongue like this motherfucker.
I got to say, the only thing that's missing from that story, though, is when it should have gone like this. I wish it had gone like this. Say like, I'm from Texas, and we don't do that mask thing down here. You know, I mean,
you just wear a bunch of hoods.
Right, exactly. We put a hood on instead of a mask.
Who needs masks when you have hoods?
Right, and it's and I hate, whatever. I could go on and on. All right, before we go too on for I gotta just I'm not gonna, I promise you, Sean, I'm not gonna go into extensive stuff about this, but I did talk about this on the Monday show. Cyril and I talked about this briefly on Wednesday. I'm gonna look to have somebody on the show on Out to Coop Live on Monday to talk about the PASSHE consolidation vote. If you have not heard already, the Board of Governors unanimously approved the plan to merge 6 of the PASSHE universities into 2. Right.
Nice.
And already in some internal memos, they've been referring to some of the campuses as branch campuses, right? As lead campuses. That you have Bashar Hanna, for example, who was the university president at Bloomsburg and then got appointed the interim president at Lock Haven after that president left. And now he's also the interim president at Mansfield. He's now the lead president, right? So that's how they're kind of setting this stuff up. And I wish I could get somebody to come on and talk about Bashar Hanna. The fact that he's the guy who's leading this over, but there's nobody want to talk about that history.
He was on the campaign, the transition team for Stacey Garrity, which I thought was interesting.
Well, he was also kind of had to kind of leave Kutztown, and then he had to leave some other places too as well. And got glowing recommendations because they were afraid of some consequences if they kind of let people know what was going on. So we don't know exactly what's going on. But I know I have friends who felt very uncomfortable in his presence. Let me just put it that way. So, but he's going to be, he's going to be the guy, right, that they've tapped. And those concerns that I'm raising here, I think were raised much more explicitly to the chancellor's office, who seemed to not to want to bat an eye at it, called it all kind of hysteria and all that kind of stuff and whatever. Okay, go for it. But that's really beside the point. So they went ahead with the vote. There were, it was, I couldn't even listen to them all because I had other things I had to get done, but I listened to the comments. And I think there was, of the multiple comments, it went on for 90 minutes, maybe less than that. But I mean, there was comment after comment of kind of resistance to this stuff. If there's been a public comment period where people could write in, the vast majority, like in the 90%, were all things from students, from families, from community members, from faculty, from staff members, all negative about this stuff. A few of them were positive. Despite this, they were going forward. They had a student survey that they included in the final report because there was nothing, because they kept on talking about students have been consulted. And then you had multiple kind of state legislators were saying, well, where is it? This is kind of incomplete, right? That you say you're referring to student stuff. Where's the data? You said you're the data guy. Where's the data? So to their credit, they put that data in for the student, whatever that they were doing. And the response rate was pretty impressive. They had students, potential students or incoming students. There was a 1% response rate. And for existing students, there was a 4% response rate. So if you know anything about statistical measures, that is means nothing. It's because you cannot draw any conclusions from such a pitiful response rate such as that, right? And yet that's the data that they're including and kind of going on, right? So it doesn't matter. It's at that point, it's irrelevant what's said, right? It doesn't say, and again, I haven't read all the responses yet. We'll get more into this and when we talk about this on Monday, but that's where it is. But most notable, there were 2 objections, right? People that raised concerns. There was Judy Swank, State Senator Judy Swank, and I'm forgetting the guy's name, Tim something or other, raised some concerns. But in the end, they voted. They voted in favor of the plan to move forward. And The other thing that's notable about this, if you remember, we talked about this on the show. We had people on to talk about this. We had the Perry report, which was the independent economic analysis about what the impact is going to be of the consolidations of these schools, and we saw that there's going to be, tens of thousands of jobs lost, right? Or I'm sorry, not tens of thousands of jobs lost. I think it's over 2,000 jobs left there. That is comparable to large plant closings in Pennsylvania, right? That's how they measured it. They basically compared it to where else have we seen the kind of impact on a community of that will be similar to this. And they said the only other comparison you have is large plants that are closing in communities. It's going to have a huge negative impact upon not only just employment within the state system of higher education, but also in the communities in which they're employed. They went through in that report, the chancellor's office kind of dismissed this as kind of like, this is kind of like whatever, these are, they don't know what they're talking about or all this. So there were 2 additional economic analysis that were included in this latest round, these updates, and they came to the same conclusions as the Perry report. Despite that, negative impacts on the communities, negative impacts on students, negative impacts on jobs, they went ahead and did it anyways, unanimously, right? So the big question now is where we go from here. Cyril and I talked about this on the before the show. He said, "Well, what do you think is going to happen?" Because we were getting ready to record right as the hearing was going on, and they hadn't taken a vote yet. I'm like, "Oh, they're going to approve it." Governor Wolf came out full-throated in support of the plan, and once Governor Wolf came out full-throated in support of that plan, we're done, right? That's what I knew. When he came out and basically said, "Oh, yeah, this is good. We got to do this. Blah, 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 blah." Whatever you said. He's the guy, ABSCUF, right, was the first, that's the faculty union. We were the first union to support Tom Wolf in the primary. His first,
he shunned everyone in the process of this.
Yep.
Didn't speak to a single person.
Yep.
Pretty much.
So there you go. Again, this is why, that this was included in part of our, this playing nice shit ain't cutting it anymore. Because here you go. If you talk about, a union that got out in front in support of Governor Wolf, or Tom Wolf, when he was running for governor, campaigned for him, door knocked for him, raised money for him. Right. And this is the thanks, right? So that whole idea that you kind of support a candidate, you get your issues out there and all this kind of stuff. This is the best example I think that we can see, right? About where that just, at least in the PASSHE instance, where this is, bullshit. It's just not working. Right. I mean, this is done. So what's going to happen now? They say it's going to be a 3-year transition process that they kind of lengthened out the period of time. Organizing's got to happen. And I've been reaching out slowly to people that, I'll put this out to everybody who's listening to us today. If and I'm not interested in hearing mealy mouth, discussions of what happened. Oh, this is unfortunate, blah, blah, blah. I'm talk to activists and organizers and people that are kind of know that we need a much more kind of militant response moving forward. I want to bring some folks to talk about this in the show on Monday. Hopefully we'll be able to book them on Monday, and we'll see it from there. But I don't want to talk too much more about it there. But I'm just saying, Sean, I think that beyond just what's going on with PASSHE, right? I'm speaking now as kind of a union member. I'm concerned about what this even does to our union, because basically what this shows, right, is that they're going to run us over, and unless there are consequences for their actions, right, that is, now they know they can do it. When we struck in 2016, they never thought we were going to do it. They thought they were going to run right over it with all their little kind of destructive plans, and we said no. This time, we said, well, we're going to be part of the process.
It's amazing how much MASH and others in the union really squandered a strike. And I'm saying that I interned in it.
Yeah.
I worked there with Dr. Hicks as president and Ken Mash as vice president. But it's just amazing seeing how that whole process just squandered a strike. I mean,
I don't know how you. Sorry.
I have friends who work there. I'm close to people who work there still. So, but yeah, that's all I have to say. Like you know what I mean? It's just, I mean, these are also issues that we work on with work, but it's just like yeah, no, it's just amazing. Like Democrats did nothing. This was a performative stunt the whole entire time. Governor Wolf said absolutely nothing to no one until probably like minutes before the vote, when pointing out that release or whatever. But like, yeah, I mean, Governor Wolf's gonna be known as the governor that went along and destroyed public higher education. Like, is Schweier on the board of governors, or no? Is he just the constituent rep?
He's not. He's on
just
the
represents Kutztown.
education committee, I believe, too, as
Yeah.
well. No, Swank is like, she represents Kutztown.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but like you also have Democrats like Judy Schwank, for instance, who doesn't want to ruffle any feathers, doesn't want to rock the boat.
Yep.
Like she said that she defended the child prisons up in Burke's detention center a couple years ago with the immigration center up there. Like, this isn't surprising, but this ultimately falls on Governor Wolf, though. I mean, he hired the person who, as Schweier said, he came in and did nothing to advocate for the state system of higher education. Like, he's using this as a way to get some job at some fancy, fucking think tank somewhere. And Wolf just gave him the green light to do this.
Yep, exactly.
And that was it.
And if you watch the hearing,
Wolf just didn't care.
Yes, and if you watch the hearing, I'll tell you this. This is, again, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to force myself to say this is the last thing I'm going to say. If you watch any of the hearings, anybody watch the hearings, you listen to Chancellor Greenstein talk, right? And this was then like rehearsed and repeated like verbatim from Cynthia Shapira, who's the chair of the Board of Governors, and Judy Swank, and a bunch of other people basically talk about this is this huge opportunity. This is going to break new ground in public higher education. This is going to be set the tone for the next year. And I've said this over and over again. When he came and was hired at Kutztown, hired at PASSHE, and went on his little tour of all the campuses. I put up a video of this on our YouTube channel where he basically told everybody there, look, he didn't come here by accident, right? He went shopping. He went shopping for a place where he could do this. So what's he going to do with it? You think that this is his end game, that he wanted to be the chancellor of this state system, and that's what he wants to retire from? No. He's going to use this to shop this now around state by state. This exactly. And who knows? I would love to see if there's any ABSCUF members who end up kind of like moving over to his to his new think tank that I'm sure he's going to launch one of these days, or if there's going to be co-written pieces about the process of transformation, right? And I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for that. I'm saying that because not that I know anything, but because I feel something like that is about to take place. But whatever. So we'll talk more about that on Monday, and hopefully we're going to get a couple of guests that are going to come on, and if not, you're just going to hear from my loud mouth that will kind of drill down into some stuff, and we'll do some sound. So we'll see from there. But it's quite a day, Sean, I have to say.
Yep.
Cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to go on to this week's fun half, everybody. Woo! Yeah, who knows what we're going to unboxing. Yeah, we're actually going to return to some beer stuff today, which would be kind of cool. But want to remind you once again that you become a patron of this show by becoming a patron for as little as $5 a month. Support the show. Just like good beer once a month. You can kind of hit us up. Go to patreon.com/rcpress and become a patron. Help support this show. We'll be back right after this with this week's Last Call. See you in a minute. Welcome back, everybody. It's Kevin Mahoney here again, once with Sean Kitchen for this week's Last Call, where we talk beer news, fun news, going in and out of focus in front of the camera. But here we go. So today, just one thing. I mentioned this a few weeks back. I talked about this browser, that's not new, but browser plugin called DuckDuckGo. Right, and it's a Chester County based, I believe, Chester County or Delaware County, or one of there, but Pennsylvania based company outside Philadelphia, and it was launched by this guy who kind of made a bunch of change from some sort of app that he developed in while he was at MIT. Used that money, sold that company, used that money to start this browser. And it's a browser that claims to kind of protect your Chesco, Nick says. Thank you, Nick. It's a browser that basically claims it protects your personal data. I'll just give you, this is kind of like how they pitch to this. Their mission is to show the world that protecting privacy is simple. For over a decade, to create a new technology, work with policymakers to make online privacy simple and accessible for all. DuckDuckGo, they do not store your data. They do not kind of use it to kind of sell it to other people, and it allows you an easy way. There's like this one little button that you hit, and it kind of like flames it all out if you're doing it on your mobile app. But if you're using the Chrome browser and using that plugin DuckDuckGo, you'll notice that it'll come up and shows you the sites that are trying to collect your data at that point, and how it's getting blocked. I first came across this because there was a story, and this is what I reported on the show, about how they are launching a desktop browser. Right now it's a Chrome plugin, but they're getting ready to launch a desktop browser. He's testified in front of Congress several times about privacy issues, about the need to break up big tech, and all a bunch of stuff like this. I started using it, and the speed of my browsing and my internet connection through Chrome increased like exponentially. I couldn't believe. I was like, it was shocking to me. I told my son about it. I said, look, maybe this is just me. You try it out. He's like, whoa, right? He was thrilled about it. So here's what I'm curious. If there's anybody out there who's using DuckDuckGo who knows more about it than I do, knows about some of the background, some about this guy's history and things like this, I'd love to hear more about it. You can hit me up at ragingchickenpress@gmail.com, or hit us up on our Monday show in the last part of in the call-in section. Remember, on our Monday show now, we're basically going to do the first 45 minutes of the show are going to be the interview kind of portion of it, and then we're going to open up for calls during the last 15 minutes. If you want to know more about that, you can tune in on Monday. I'll tell you, I'll kind of remind everybody I talked about it in this past Monday show. So there's that. I just would love to get people's perspectives on it, because this privacy stuff, how this cuts. There's groups that are concerned about it from a kind of monopoly perspective, from a surveillance perspective, as Cory Doctorow's about surveillance capitalism, so on. But there's also some kind of really kind of like crazy libertarians that are really interested in this stuff. And so before I start kind of like promoting this too much, right, I'd really like to know what people know about the company, about this guy, his background, and what their experiences are with the browser, because I've actually really loved using it, and I just want to find out more before I kind of go even more. Anyways, just want to throw that out there for the community. I want to say there's this, for those folks watching on YouTube right now, you'll notice this right here. This is the Brave Noise Pale Ale from Notch Brewing. Right, you remember me talking about this. This is the Notch Brewing is, of course, where Brienne Allen is from. Brienne Allen was the woman she's a brewer at at Notch Brewing. She put up that Instagram post that said, anybody else experiencing this kind of sexism in the craft beer industry, and it exploded. And that has kind of moved into the latest round of a reckoning in the craft beer industry about their legacy of misogyny, of sexism, anti-racism, not anti-racism, but racism, and a whole sorts of kind of problematic aspects of a toxic culture there. And we've seen different breweries have been stepping up and basically saying, we are going to be part of a collaboration with folks to kind of end this now. And at the other breweries, we've seen kind of the heads of the company, lead brewers, managers, whatever like this, get fired, right, being forced out by their employees as they're being exposed for their history of sexism and sexual abuse that are taking place within the industry. So anyways, I want to put this out. So this Brave Noise, the reason why I wanted to kind of show you the can, this is what it kind of looks like. Notch Brewing went through a process and they launched a this new thing called the Brave Noise Collaborative. And basically they're using this as a way of kind of build these collaborations with breweries all over the country and the world, actually. It's a global collaborative. And their single goal is a safe, discrimination-free beer industry. Read this from Brave Noise is advocating for safe spaces and inclusive environments by requesting breweries be transparent with their policies and commitment to long-term work, right? They are out there kind of promoting this. There's interviews on this. So there'll be a link in the show notes. But they're going to start seeing. So there's 3 different things you could do. If you're a brewery, right? This is a collaborative effort to provide inclusive and safe environments for women. You're going to brewing this beer alongside the folks at Notch. You're standing in solidarity with those folks who shared stories. So they're asking people, look, if you're a brewery, you want to get involved with this collaborative, you want to help raise money and making sure these codes of conduct are kind of part of the brewing industry, join in this and take part in this. There's a section for home brewers, right? If you're a home brewer and you want to find out kind of ways that you can help kind of be part of this, they've got a link there. And for beer drinkers like me, right, about how you can kind of help out and how you can actually support having these kind of inclusive anti-sexist, why I got this t-shirt, right? Anti-sexist, anti-racist, pro-equality beer club out of New York City. And how we can actually kind of take a stand as a community. People who love craft beer kind of love the idea of that you're kind of supporting the community, but also are absolutely 100% intolerant of sexism, misogyny, racism, and abuse in the industry. So great news from there. And connected with that, there's this the shirt that I have on right now is actually a New York City one. The original shirt came from out of San Diego, and that is a the San Diego shirts called the same kind of stuff was there to support Brianna Allen's legal defense, because now you have some breweries, instead of saying, okay, we need to stop this in industry, are deciding they're going to go out and kind of like, go after her. So they started this. Let me see if I can just pull this up real quick. Here we go. Oh, it didn't show up. Give me one more second. And then we find this one article, and then we're going to go here. No, it's not going to come up. Anyways, the so I'll have the link that's put in there, and basically has a link to where you can get a t-shirt, right, that'll help support Brianna Allen's legal defense stuff. The one that I have right now, which has this on the front thing, comes out of New York City. I couldn't find the link before the show, but I'll look for it again after the show to try to put it in the show notes. I will have the link in there that'll go to the original one out of San Diego. So not only, so something small to do, but I'm looking at this as like, I love the fact that I can wear this when I go to Free Will. If I want to go pick up some beer there or something like this, I got, I'll have this shirt on, which would be great. Other kind of quick things before we get into the long-awaited unboxing that Sean has been dying to get into. One, Billionaires in Space. Yes, Sir Richard Branson kind of flew up there with little Virgin Galactic to kind of beat out Jeff Bezos, as we've seen the kind of billionaire playboys, whatever, make their way for their space play. We'll have more on that in the coming days, because or coming weeks. It's going to be a thrill for me to talk about that. And Sean, I got to say, so in this little bottle right here, I've been doing cold brew, right? Coffee. Right. So
making your own, or
I'm making my own, you bet.
Nice.
I came across there's this great little device, right? It's called Rumble, like Rumble something, right? It's like an insert you use in just kind of ball jars, right? And normally you go through I've been wanting to do this for a while, but when I was looking at, okay, what's the best way to do this? It's like, you need this, and there's all these different things. I'm like, I don't want to like find more stuff that I have to freaking store. And I came across this thing. It was called Rumble. It's like a little cylinder with these kind of micro perforations in it that you just kind of put it, you stick it in a ball jar, you kind of turn it upside down a few times, you stick it in the fridge for an hour or for a day, right? And come out with it. You build that concentrate and kind of come out with it. So I've been doing it now for a couple weeks, and I tell you, I'm loving it. It's
Nice.
It's pretty freaking awesome. So I'm on the cold brew ticket, and I'll have more to say about that in there. And I was really psyched too as well. It's like, Just Coffee is they're a sponsor of the Majority Report and stuff like that. It's where I order a lot of my coffee from, and some local roasters too as well. But Just Coffee, they started producing just the kind of cold brew, special brew. So I bought a bag of that. I've been kind of using that, grinding that, and kind of using it, and it's been mwah. So shout out to those folks at Just Coffee too as well, and the folks at Rumble for producing a great way of making it really super easy to do your own cold brew. So there you go. That's what I got this week, Sean.
Nice. So I guess before we open up this box, I would say I am getting myself into more video production stuff. I think I'm going to try to do that this year. Spend the summer messing around doing that because there's nothing else going on. Republicans are out. Legislature's out until September 20th. So I figured I got a few months to teach myself some new video things. So I bought a gimbal this week, which is going to be really nice, which is going to be open soon. A new microphone, just a cheap microphone, shotgun mic. And then started making my own videos, using Rush, Adobe Rush, which is pretty nice. It's pretty much like a dumbed down version of Premiere, or like what Lightroom is to Photoshop. This is what Rush is to like Premiere. So made a couple of videos already this week. Mastriano at the insurrection.
It was quite good, I must say. I very much enjoyed that. I was like, when I saw it first, I have to say, when I saw it first, I'm like, oh, like, where's it from? I was like, oh, this is Sean's video. This is Sean doing his video thing. This is
Which
awesome.
one's this?
The one with Mastriano.
Which one? The one I did the first one, or
the first one? When you put the first one out, yeah.
So I did the first one, the montage of him speaking, and then it goes like, and then it runs like cops getting fucking pummeled.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I did a second one yesterday, just a 12-second sound clip of him on that one radio interview, saying like, I'll pull up the direct quote, but it's fucking awesome just like having this stuff now and just going back and listening to it.
Yeah.
And he said like, I didn't go on the steps. No, he was right. He stayed like, he didn't go on the steps that were breached, but he was pushing part of the crowd that was like pushing the police lines back the whole entire time. He said this because this interview that we found right after the insurrection. So he said this a week after the insurrection. Because that was our case as well. We're not out there to be a lot of bad things were happening. Now, not aware how bad it got. And they like him and his wife, like 9% of the people who showed up today didn't realize how bad things got until they were checking the news or checking their phones. And he's like, that was the same thing for us. We weren't aware of how bad things were until we left. And it's just like him saying that on the radio interview with people with the video of him walking towards the Capitol steps and then yelling, "Stop the steal" in the background.
Great.
I'm gonna like, people
That's
are really
awesome.
gonna hate me after like the end of the summer with these videos after they get done, because it's just like,
well, that's good because it was like it was tough finding like the next kind of load of fuel that you could put on the Hate Sean kitchen fire. So now you got it. Okay. I'm going to tell you this. I wasn't going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this anyways. I've been toying with this, and I'm going to do it now because I've been doing it. I started messing around with it. I'm gonna make some shirts for sales, and they're going to be "I hate Sean Kitchen," like the "I hate Steven Singer" thing.
Don't do that.
I'm going to.
I think that's only like a Philadelphia thing, right? Steven Singer.
Yeah. I had no idea what that was because Steven Singer's
It's
also
a jeweler.
Is he?
Yeah, Steven Singer Jewelers.
I have no idea.
It's a Philadelphia jeweler. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was a radio person.
No, he was a jeweler, and it was just like a long-term like advertising campaign. He had "I hate Steven Singer," and it was just like he has his fucking radio ads everywhere, and billboards in the city. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first because Steven Singer is also
You would think he's a radio guy.
well, that's what I thought. I had no idea. I see the billboards. I'm like, whatever. I don't know what that says. This is not my. But it's like Steven Singer's also the education activist teacher guy, right? Yeah. So when I first saw him, I'm like, wait a minute, this is like so disruptive to my brain. But anyways, yeah. So I got to ask Sean, what do you got in the box? There it is, everybody. This is the first. I think this is a first Raging Chicken unboxing. Where Sean is opening up the play-by-play. He's got a letter opener. He's not.
God, it's like...
Oh, look at this! It must be important because it's got. I think it's weatherproofed.
Really I'm also like using a letter opener as a pen.
Like instead of a scissors or a knife, because again, safety first, right? We don't just
like
yeah. We got some bubble, we got some big bubbles, air pocket things. What is that? Oh, that wait, show that again. Put up. No, you're not in front of the camera. Up a little bit. Yeah, that's nice. I've got one of those. It's a little bit more in the boom shape, but they're fantastic.
Yeah, this is like more of like their express mic.
Yep.
So it's the same thing, but
do you have that boom mic?
Yeah,
I thought so. Right.
It actually broke.
It broke.
It broke off the shoe.
Oh, okay.
And then I got this.
That the gimbal just came?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you already got the gimbal in. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's the gimbal.
I have no reason to have a gimbal, right? I cannot justify it. Believe me, I have tried in my brain to say, well, this is what I need it for, but I can't. But I so much want one.
Here's like my rationale with this. It was debating between the gimbal and a Steadicam, which a Steadicam, like the gimbal has like the roll axes, but a Steadicam you just mount it onto a plate, but you have like it's large. It's almost like you're holding like a stick that counterbalances on it. So it's like that's $300 versus like $350 for a gimbal.
Yeah,
like a really good gimbal, like a prosumer, highly rated gimbal.
Yeah,
like these things do get expensive and carried away with. But
notice, everybody, Sean used the word prosumer.
Yeah. No, but like that type of like if you're going to be doing like the vlogging and stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
sure.
Like it took me a while to justify getting it, and just like the extra $50, sure.
Dude, I think look,
and it's
I
a lot
look
more
at
technologically better. Like what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it totally makes sense. I mean, look, for all the rallies and all this kind of stuff that you go to, right? I mean, I think it makes 100% sense, right? Especially if you're going to be doing more video.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I have to get going.
There you go, everybody. There you go, everybody. We have Sean did the unboxing, and he has to go. So.
Sorry, I just got a couple. I ended up getting a couple quick phone calls. We can close it out.
Yeah, let's just close it out. So, hey, everybody, listen, this is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. It's been a week of kind of coming back from vacation and a little bit of freewheeling stuff. We're going to start getting back into our regular routine. We're going to have some cool stuff coming up on the Wednesday show with Cyril Michaleko. That's going to be great. Of course, we'll be back here next Friday with Sean Kitchen for our Politics News Roundup. And then Monday, we're going to do our best to focus on what just happened in PASSHE and have some folks on the show. It's been great hanging out, everybody. It's really, really great to be back. And I look forward to seeing y'all on Monday, hopefully. And hopefully we're going to see you throughout the week next week. Yep. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken Press. Thank y'all. See ya!